Hello to our Hastings Catholic Schools community. I'm Hauli Sabatka, and today we're coming to you with another COVID conversation. I'm excited today with us. We have Shelby Burr. Shelby is our St. Cecilia's choir and band teacher, music teacher. Clint Head, our athletic director, is with us, and our St. Cecilia Principal Fr Rowan is with us. So we're going to talk about today just some points with some of our activities. I know there's been some questions about that, and I think it'll be a great conversation just to bring up some of those points. For you, our listeners, all of our information can be found at hastingscatholicschools.org/COVID. Or one of the easiest ways to find it is just going to our website, and one of the changing pictures right on our website front page is COVID. And you'll just click on that and it'll take you to our past videos, as well as there's information so that you can submit questions if you have questions that we can answer during our conversation. So I'm going to start with you, Shelby. Let's just talk a little bit about music. I know band camp was last week, and I think that was a success for you, but how are you planning? I know there's a lot of questions with instruments and with singing and some of the things that you're looking at.
Yeah, I think the most important change that's going to happen this year is that students just aren't sharing anything. So if that means instruments or mallets or music, I would have them share binders, things like that, and they won't be sharing anything. There'll just be more resources. Things that we don't have as much of, the students will have to disinfect them in between. So some of the percussion instruments will have to be disinfected, but my classes are pretty spaced out, so it's not a problem to disinfect. But we did start with band camp, and it went really well. The kids, though it was an adjustment, and it'll take some time, just like it did that week, to be spaced out and for it to look a little bit different, and wearing masks when they move from point A to point B. That will take a little bit of time to get used to, but I think they all adjusted really well, and I don't think there's anything too crazy. The one thing that I'm doing, it's not required by the Nebraska Department of Ed or music educators for Nebraska or anything, but I put coverings on the instruments where the majority of the air is coming out of. So at the bell of the trumpet, there's a fabric mask, if you want to call it. It's just another way of taking that extra step to try and stop the spread of germs. And so every instrument has that extra mask on it.
Great. Now I did see some stuff come out about some of them, and maybe it was just the main competition of marching has been canceled or changed through Nebraska educators. Can you talk about kind of your marching events coming up? And I don't know if there'll be parades or if there's not.
Yeah, so our schedule's changed a little bit. State marching band has already been canceled for sure, which is obviously a huge disappointment. And other competitions like Harvest of Harmony have followed along and canceled too. But we plan on still having a season as long as the competitions will still open up and accept us in. We will follow whatever guidelines they have so that we can still compete. Even if we don't have a single competition, we'll still perform at a football game. We are spread out way more than 6 feet on the field. And so just to get that experience this year is my top priority. So football games for sure, and hopefully competitions.
Great, wonderful. And I know you're so blessed with your music room. We're in the East Gym right now, and your music room is basically the length of this gym. So
yeah,
you've got lots of room to spread your kids out.
Yeah, we have tons of room. I can have the kids spread out. For my largest class, which is the high school band, we were able to spread out enough to follow guidelines. So yeah, I'm blessed with tons of space to allow the social distancing, for sure.
Great. In a future COVID conversation, we'll be talking to Mrs. Dana Fanning, and Dana is everyone's favorite elementary music teacher over at St. Michael's. She was not able to join us today, but we'll be addressing that in a later conversation where we can talk some of the things that we'll be doing with the kiddos within music class and some of the precautions that she'll be taking as well. Great. Well, I think we'll shift over then to Clint, over to you, just to talk about sports. I know if you're a sports follower, it's been a big week. I think Big 12 came out yesterday, and Big 10 I saw this morning on social media that their schedules out. And a little plug for our own Hastings College. I think GPAC was the first conference in the United States that came out with their schedule, I think 6 weeks ago. So now it's kind of our turn on what we're doing, and just to maybe share a little bit about you as athletic director and some of the preparations you're taking.
It's and this year is going to be probably very, very different than as we're looking. But the nice thing is the NSAA has done a good job of communicating, and I know they've had some real gray area as far as it goes, but they've done a good job of communicating. They sent out a document early July, and it's one of the things that we're basing some things off of with attendance and capacity and those kind of things as of right now. They also sent a document out Monday, and so I've been to several meetings, Zoom meetings, and actually been to Kearney to a meeting and sat down and talked. But we're going off of their recommendations is what we're doing. The nice thing is when you look at the NSAA and you talk to them, they're governing us, and we're moving forward with athletics this fall. We're planning on having seasons. We're prepping like it's a normal season as far as coaches go and those kind of things. But we've got to take precautions. Social distancing is going to be the key. If we want the seasons to continue and to move forward, we've got to do a great job of social distancing ourselves. We've got to do a good job of wearing masks when we can't social distance. When we're competing, obviously, we're not going to ask kids to wear masks while they're competing. But when we get in those situations where, maybe we're on a bus or we can't be that 3 to 6 feet apart, we're going to ask people to put masks on. So those are some of the things that are going to be different for us. I know we're going to take daily attendance with our kids. So if we do have something happen, then we can trace it. That's going to be the difference when we're masking and social distancing between 1 or 2 kids maybe getting quarantined and maybe the whole team having to set out. And I can tell you from the NSAA, from their eyes and their viewpoint, they're looking at every sport. It's not just one sport. If one sport, they would have to shut down one sport, they're not going to shut them all down. And so that was very comforting to hear. That was a concern I had, is that they were just looking at, hey, if we shut this sport down, then we're shutting them all down. They're not looking at it that way. It's each individual sport, and then we'll go sport by sport, case by case. So that was very comforting. But the key for them is the social distancing, making sure that we're cleaning equipment, making sure that we're tracking our kids, and doing all those kind of things. Just so your own water bottle, your own food if you bring it, and making sure that we're taking care of those steps and those precautions.
Yeah, there's a big difference between cross country and football, not
yes.
contact. So I'm glad to see that.
Yes, and so that was very comforting when they came out and started saying that. And as you started going to meetings, those questions started getting asked. Now it could look very different. From school to school, the way they handle it with their facilities, attending a game could look very different than if you're coming into St. Cecilia's or if you're going on the road. Athletic directors are going to have to be in contact. We're going to get to make some decisions. The home team, what the NSAA said is the home team will get set the standard, and whoever comes into that school will follow what that standard is. So coming to a game here, if we had a game today right now, we would encourage that you mask when you come in and social distance if you were coming inside the gym.
So let's talk about that. So that we'll probably have bleachers shut off,
Yeah.
or blocked off, certain,
Right.
the seats open, the seats not, similar to church.
Right, and what the recommendation is 50% when you're indoors and 75% capacity when you're outdoors. And so very similar to that. And like I said, they encourage that you mask. That may, it's got to be very fluid. That may change to a requirement, before we get to our first contest. It could. But we have to be, I think as we look at this whole thing, we all have to be very flexible with it. And so, and then we also have to understand we have to get those, when we go places, when we go to other activities at other schools, they're going to send us what our requirements are there. They may say, there may be a night where they say there's no parent,
No fans.
no fans. That, I know there's a school that I've heard of that is not allowing fans this year.
So definitely we'll have to keep, you'll be in contact with every
Yes.
AD as the games come. And so I think we'll really have to rely on our social media
Right.
To update. So for instance, if we're playing right now in Central Catholic and they have some restrictions, they'll let you know, and then we
Right.
can share that to our audience, our community. And again, those might change weekly or from a Tuesday to a Thursday it might change.
Exactly. And I mean, the best thing you can do as a fan or coming to an activity is make sure that you self-monitor at home. You may or may not get a temperature check at the door. Just be ready for that. It's going to be part of what we do. You know, it just depends where we go and what the next few weeks look like for us as well. You know, these schedules, just like Shelby said, I know her band schedule has changed, her marching band schedule has changed. The football schedule, the volleyball schedule, the softball schedule, the cross-country schedule, all of them could be very fluid. At the varsity levels, at the JV levels, those could be schedules where you're seeing cancellations and rescheduling of events. That's a possibility. I know they've come out and said basically in all varsity sports, if there's an instance where you're going to play somebody and they have a COVID problem and they cancel the game on you, that if you can find somebody else, you can try to reschedule. So our schedules could look very, very different than what they look right now. So I think if everybody's patient and flexible and understands that we're helping ourselves out by, you know, social distancing and masking and taking the correct precautions, you know, then, you know, we'll do the best we can.
I know currently the way our schedule looks, we just have 2 home instances where there's 2 things at once. I think we have a softball on the same night as volleyball. Currently, again, that might all change. Right. But I think the plan is that all of our home sports that we're going to try to strive. Yes. And so the one that there's a duplicate one will hopefully maybe be on YouTube, and then the other one will be at Strive, so that if there's people that can't come, grandparents they can definitely watch those. And same with music, if it's something that we can get, whatever it might be, we're going to hope to strive all of those as well, so that we're letting people watch and participate from home.
Right, and I think that's fantastic. The more you can do that, the better it is, because if you don't feel well or you feel like you have some of the symptoms, you know, the smartest thing you can do is to stay away. You may have to miss a ball game, but if you can watch it on TV, at least you have something. It's better that than have people showing up and then maybe we lose out,
yeah,
you know, on the rest of the season.
Yeah. Or if we have to, you know, watch lots of games on Strive, at least the kids are able to play and do things. So I'm going to pull Father Rowan for this one, just for the fact we hear this a lot. I know as a parent I have this question because it kind of is like 2 standards. You know, it's like, this is what the school has, and then this is what sports have. So, and they're a little bit different. And so let's talk about that. I know that's kind of out of our hands, but maybe, Father, if you want to explain kind of that to us.
Sure, but we're looking at activities and sports, and that's all directed by the Nebraska Schools Activity Association. Our school itself, the academic side of it, the spiritual side of it, I mean, that's the Nebraska Department of Education, that is the Diocese of Lincoln. They're the ones that organize that. They're the ones that work with the health departments. We work with our health departments, and we make things safe in our school so that we can have a good, growing, learning environment, enriching in the faith and also in academics. And so they're different organizations, and within SAA, I mean, it's the whole state. I mean, health departments focusing on the school, the location, the diocese, and Nebraska, the School Activities Association works for the entire state. So there's a little bit of differences with that, but they're all different organizations.
Different guidelines. I know Shelby, you mentioned the Nebraska music educators.
Yeah.
So you've got stuff coming through there, and so there's lots of stuff funneling in that's directing us, and sometimes they don't match up probably. You know, this one might say this, and we're just all doing our best following the rules for our areas.
And I think that's the thing is like, as we look at school and then you look at sports, we're doing some different things in school, and then you're watching kids watch football practice per se. And they're intermixing and having those contacts. We ask them to go in the shower right after that and do those kind of things. So I think it's important that people understand that. That's a great point, Hauli. Like, it is 2 different governing bodies, and there's 2 different sets of standards there.
And I think probably as you guys, all of us, it's frustrating too, because it wouldn't be great if there was just one set of rules.
Right.
That this is that we just open up the door and here's a set of rules we all follow, and it's just word for word. But I think everyone, music educators, NSAA, Department of Ed, everyone's going through this for the first time too, and they're doing the best they can for the area and it's not maybe fair. I heard that from someone. Well, it's really not fair if kids are having to wear masks and then they come out and they're playing volleyball and their masks are on, and that it doesn't match up. But those are the rules we have to follow for the departments we're in. So yeah. Let's go back to you, Clint, and talk a little bit about you just got back from impact testing. Yep. Maybe explain that a little bit, what's going on with that.
So what we're doing is it's your baseline impact testing. 7th graders, 9th graders, 11th graders take impact test. And then anybody that's new to activities here at St. Cecilia's that's going to be new to St. or had a concussion last year. Basically what the impact test is it gives us a baseline. And I actually went through and took the test the first time. I did it yesterday. I want to see what the kids went through. I've done this for years, but I've never actually taken the test. So I went ahead and did it the other day, and it's it can be challenging. You don't really fail the baseline. What it does is it gives you a baseline. So if something does happen and a coach or a sponsor suspects that you have a concussion, then what it allows you to do is go to your doctor. They can pull that baseline test up. They can retest you and see if there is some kind of injury there, and then we can get you on a path for treatment. Is what it does, and that's why the impact test is so important. That we make sure that we want to have, we want to make sure that we try to have that before everybody starts sports and starts their activities.
That's great, just have that baseline. That's
Yes,
really nice.
that baseline is very, very important. Otherwise we're going to have, issues, getting you back so you can participate again if something were to happen.
Good. One final question for you is, all sports will start 2-a-days and practices will start on Monday?
August 10th.
August 10th, okay.
August 10th.
So we'll get everybody back going then.
Everybody will be going then.
Okay.
So, we're
Great.
excited to do that. And I know we've been in contact with the coaches, and, it'll be the same thing. We'll be taking attendance and masking when they come in and get them set and go from there.
Good. I'm shifting over to Father again. I was going to ask you about singing at Mass. I know there's been a couple questions about that, like, will our littles be able to sing more? Will bigs be singing? What's the current status if I go to Mass on Sunday and what's going on? So you can share with us.
Yeah, so the current status is, speaking with the diocese and also Father Kuban, who's also a doctor, she just advised against singing at Mass, people who accuse singing. What we can do, we've done this at St. Michael's, is have a cantor up there who can lead the song, just have some type of music there, but we're being advised to not sing during our Mass time together. Because of the singing, the air coming through the lungs, the droplets that could come out. And so that is still the current, really the current situation with that, but that may change.
That may change too. And as directives change from the Lincoln Diocese, you would, as a priest, you'll be updated, and then we can go from there if there's times. And there might be times where a class can sing if they're spread out in the church, if it's the second graders are in there, it might be something that Mrs. Fanny decides to do, but
as long as they're spaced out.
They're spaced out.
Yeah, the hard thing is with all the students in there, or even
Yeah.
if I have the students in there,
Still
it's
so
still
close.
be close to the size of the St. Cecilia, the same number of students.
Yeah, and those decisions are really out of our hands. That's coming from the up above, the Lincoln Diocese. So great. Well, I think that's our conversations for today. I want to just remind our community that you can find all this information on our COVID website, which is hastings.org/COVID. We're just going to our website and finding our little COVID tag. It's one of those pages that just flips at the beginning. Also, you can search Hastings Catholic Schools on YouTube and find our YouTube channel, and all of these past videos are there. You can submit questions. There'll be an email there, our Hastings Catholic Schools marketing email. You can submit questions that you have, or at any time you can contact any one of us. Father Rowan, Mrs. Carrie Rasmussen, you can send emails to them, and we'll make sure we get those answered, whether it's privately from them or during one of our conversations. We'll be back together again next Monday, this coming Monday, to speak with our preschool teachers and talk about the very littles and how they're preparing to get those students starting right away on the 17th with us. So thank you to our community, and thank you guys, Shelby and Clint and Father, for being with us today, and we'll talk with everyone soon. Thank you.